didn't turn green.
Nope, you're good.
It's all good there?
All right, everybody. Welcome back to the Cowboys of the Osage podcast. Hey, I'm Cody Boy right here. I got Jimbo Snively right over here, rodeo historian, my co-host. Hey, Jimbo, what's going on, man?
Not much, Cody. We're going to talk about the International Roundup Cavalcade today. And we've got Bud Gould and Lauren Garnett.
I know these two pretty good,
Yeah, you ought
Jimbo.
to know pretty good.
My lovely wife.
Yeah.
Hardly ever missed a cavalcade. My great father-in-law, arena director of the cavalcade, actually. Arena director. This year for the cavalcade, Jimbo, is a special year.
Right.
Not very many rodeos reach this milestone.
No. And with no break in between or anything, it's just been a solid 75 years of the cavalcade here at Pawhuska. It started in 1947. It was the brainchild of all people, a lady bronc rider by the name of Alice Adams from Tulsa.
Wow.
And it was her idea that she put it together. And the Roundup, it was the first two were sponsored by the Roundup magazine and the Pawhuska Roundup Club.
I see you got a copy of the magazine there, Jimbo.
A copy there. And they co-sponsored the first two, 47 and 48. And then in 49, the Pawhuska Roundup Club took over sole sponsorship, and they formed the Cavalcade Committee, and that's the way it's been run ever since.
Well, they got a unique opportunity this year, Jimbo. Cheyenne Frontier Days doesn't have this opportunity anymore. The Calgary Stampede doesn't have this opportunity anymore. Houston Astrodome, the Houston Livestock Show, doesn't have this opportunity anymore. I just named 3 of the biggest rodeos to ever exist.
Right.
They didn't have the rodeo last year.
Right.
The Cavalcade had their rodeo last year. So here pretty soon, it's going to be one of the oldest rodeos that's went every single year non-stop.
Absolutely. And it's always been billed as the world's largest amateur rodeo. And it's lived up to that all those years.
It's huge. I've only been around it a few times. I grew up. My dad was a pro rodeo guy. Never was able to go to the cavalcade. We were always at Cheyenne during the cavalcade, same time. But guess what? My sister won the cavalcade one time.
Really?
She's got a cavalcade buckle, Jimbo.
Oh, well, that's pretty good.
So we do got a cavalcade champion in my family, too.
Yeah, great.
All right. Bud,
Yes, sir.
when did you first start going to the cavalcade?
I was a young kid. I first started in the 60s. Untying calves was my first job in the arena. And I worked out there for, probably about 10 years till the middle 70s I worked, and then graduated high school and went out on the world and thought you need to see a lot of big country. Missed a couple years and then came back and got back involved with it in 1980 and haven't missed one since. Been working for over 41 years straight.
What's your exact job title over there?
Right now, I'm the arena director. I am the one in charge of putting on the rodeo, make sure the rodeo gets started on time, all the stock's in, contestants, everything runs. My job, like I've always said and told people, I'm just the guy that greases the wheel when it squeaks.
So, job as arena director. When did you actually start the job as the arena director and you're wanting just a hand out in the arena working for the director?
In the 50th was Dwayne Ramey's last year. He was arena director for 20-some years, and I started on the 51st Cavalcade. So this year will be my 25th year straight as arena director.
Wow, that's quite an accomplishment for any job, much less an arena director at the world's largest amateur rodeo.
Well, I tell people I've been trying to get fired for 25 years, and I just can't find the right guy to fire me. But so I keep doing it.
Put your daughter in charge of it. She'll line you out. She'll line you out.
That's the problem, is I have plenty of people to line me out.
I learned lining out from the best of them.
But he can line someone out pretty good. You got to be able to do that to be the arena director.
Absolutely.
Well, I've always said whenever it comes to something like that, and I think Jimbo will agree with me, when you have something that big, there can only be one person in charge. You can't have a bunch of little bitty bosses. There's got to be one chief and a bunch of Indians, just using the old deal. You can't have but one person in charge. The Cavalcade is a very unique rodeo from the standpoint that they come and camp for the week. You know that. And there's so much involved. There's a arena director. There's a chairman that's over the whole thing. There's a camp director. There's a security director. There's like 5 different directors that are in charge of their part of the cavalcade. We all get together and everybody does their job. And pulled it off for 75 years straight now.
You say big. Everybody don't know about the cavalcade. Some people's never heard of it. What do you mean by big?
They come in and start. They'll come in and start. We start our first performance is on Monday morning. We have the Queen's Horsemanship, and then we start the rodeo and with slack on Tuesday, all the kids events and the extra event. And then once we get to Wednesday, we have 2 performances a day, one in the morning and one at night. And it's billed as the world's largest amateur rodeo. I went back and looked. Last year I run 1,627 people through that arena before Sunday. 1,627 people competed to get to the finals on Sunday. So I don't know of another rodeo out there that puts that many people through in 5 days.
Well,
I don't know
think
very many that rodeo that do 2 performances a day.
Right.
Yeah, now even the big rodeos are limited, the ones that everybody would enter. So I'm going to have to say the Cavalcade probably is the world's largest amateur rodeo, maybe the world's largest rodeo per contestant capita. I don't know. What do you think, Jimbo?
I'd say it probably is. Like you should say, with the limitations they're putting on the big rodeos now, Cavalcade probably is the biggest rodeo going.
Well, they give out back numbers, but I can compete in more than one event and use the same back number. Last year we gave out 1,200 and some back numbers, but there was over 1,600 people. So one person can be in 3 and 4 events if they choose to, and there's a lot of people that do that. And then there are a lot of people that are just in one event.
Well, just the 1,200 number alone of single contestants is, I'm going to have to say, the world's largest, Jimbo. So,
well, we count them not just back number. If they participate in more than one event, it's just like having 2 different people there. It's the same person, but it's a completely different event. So you count them as a contestant. Is the way we do it.
Gotcha. Perfect. So, what do they do on Tuesday night?
Tuesday night, we don't do anything down there. They have a street dance downtown, and that's part of the Queen's contest. Has a barbecue and stuff downtown. Tuesday morning we start with the extra events. We run barrels, poles, flags, extra Pony Express, and extra chuck wagon races that are done on the racetrack, which is a 3/4 of a mile racetrack. And they start the chuck wagons on the very end of the track, run down the track, do their event, and the Pony Express runs around the track. So it's those events are done on Tuesday, kind of the extras, and then once we start on Wednesday, we're not limited, but we try to keep all the performances basically the same, something we run off in about 2.5, 3 hours. So once I start, usually at 9 o'clock, usually I get done by noon, or somewhere right after that.
It's got all the regular rodeo events.
Yes, sir. And plus
what all events do they have that makes this Cavalcade rodeo?
It's unique because it's a kids event too. The daytimer for the kids, we have barrels, poles, flags, breakaway calf roping for the kids, tie down calf roping for the juniors, and then once we get to the night, we have, and then also, like I said, we have the chuck wagon race and the Pony Express race, and those are all run during the day, in the daylight hours, and at night we have a regular rodeo just like any other rodeo, but we add wild cow milking, 2-man team wild cow milking, and a 3-man team wild horse race where we turn out 4 or 5 horses at one time. All of them get turned out at the same time. They got a saddle horse and ride him to the other end of the arena on a timed event. Top person in every event. The goes start on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday is all one go. Top 10 people in every event qualify to come back to Sunday. It's a 2-run average. They will compete again on Sunday, average the 2 times together. Person with the lowest time, highest score, wins the cavalcade. So it's a 2-run average.
So what are the events exactly? Name off the events they run and the night performances.
Nighttime, we start off with bareback. We don't have very many barebacks, so last year we switched to ranch bronc riding, and it was very successful. We start bucking out. There's no bareback riders hardly anymore. It's just hard to get people to ride bareback in this part of the country, it seems like.
Do you blame them? It's really hard on you.
It's really hard to beat.
Yeah.
It's hard on your
We
body.
got a lot of ranch bronc riders
We have
around.
a lot. We bucked out an average of about 8 of them a night, and then but we have ranch bronc riding. Like I said, we have the wild horse race. We have senior men's calf roping, junior and senior team roping, wild cow milking, barrel race, and bull riding. Regular rodeo. And probably one of the biggest arenas in the country. I think there's only one that I know of that's bigger.
Yeah, Cody's been to all the arenas across the country. So, Cody, how's it compare?
Well, I would like to get a measurement on Burwell, Nebraska's big rodeo arena. I would like to get a measurement on the XIT arena out in Dalhart. It's pretty long and pretty wide. And Cheyenne might be longer than us, but I believe we're probably wider than Cheyenne.
We're 278 feet wide from the buck and shoots to the offense and 515 feet long.
Yeah, I haven't put pencil to paper or went and checked out the other rodeo
But
grounds.
you've only named 3 other arenas that could even potentially compare with our arena right here in Osage County.
Pecos, Texas would be the other one that could potentially.
Right.
And there's an old arena in Post, Texas that was real big.
Definitely top
10 big arenas in the United States.
in the whole U.S.
If not the biggest. We
Yeah.
would have to
And most
measure
people
them.
don't realize that arena wasn't an arena originally. It was a semi-pro football field. There is a whole tile drainage system underneath the arena to drain the water out. And it still works today.
That comes in handy.
Jimbo, you got a good story about the arena.
Which one?
I don't know. You were telling to me the other day something about they were switching it from wooden pins to pipe pins, and they
Well,
had
that
a
was
great
19
celebration. And
That was 1946.
I think it goes back to the Cavalcade, if I remember
Well,
right.
it does. The Roundup clubs in 1946, and I don't know if the county did it or who did it, but they welded up these new pins, the steel pins that are still there today.
The original steel pins
Yeah.
are still, they've been
Yeah.
added on
Yeah,
to.
right.
But
But they built those in 1946, and they had a big match roping
Yep.
to commemorate the new pins. They had a match roping between my grandfather and Fred Larry, and it's all in this magazine, the Roundup Club magazine, and it's
Your grandfather was quite a bit younger than Fred Lowry.
yeah, Fred Larry was quite a bit older than him, and my grandfather was just starting to rope steers good. He'd mostly been a calf roper before then. But the funny thing about it, this was right after the war, and they developed nylon for parachute cord
Right.
in the war. And nylon had been around, but they'd never really developed it like that. But they did. They made parachute cord out of it in the war. And Fred Larry showed up with some nylon ropes.
Really?
First nylon ropes
First
my
time.
grandpa had ever seen. He was using the grass ropes, and he broke 2 ropes that day. And Fred Larry, of course, the nylon rope didn't break any ropes.
Them old guys are hard to get by sometimes, Jimbo.
Yeah, especially if the rope don't break.
yeah, kind of helps. doesn't it?
But the picture there that here in the museum is a picture with all those cowboys lined up, and all those other cowboys that just came to watch. But it was a who's who of old timers, you know, and they're all lined up there across the wall, and you've got the big panoramic view of it here in your museum.
So who put this great roping on?
I think the Pawhuska Roundup Club, because there's a picture of Fred Larry accepting the check from Sid Shook, who was the Roundup Club president at the time. It's right here in this magazine.
Very neat. Bud,
Yes, sir.
have you ever competed in the Cavalcade?
Yeah,
and if
maybe.
so, what all events did you do growing up?
Well, growing up, I thought I was a bull rider, but I soon found out I wasn't, and I quit that early. But yeah, I've calf roped as a kid out there, breakaway roping, tie down roping. I remember one distinctly. I made it to the top 10 on Sunday in the junior boys calf roping and roped my calf by 2 back feet.
Yeah.
That wasn't fun, but I made it. Didn't do no good. And then I team roped in it as late as last year. I still compete in it, try to every year.
Now, it's the world's largest amateur rodeo.
Yes, sir.
I think I might have touched on that a little bit ago, but I was using rodeo lingo that not everybody understands. What makes it the world's largest amateur rodeo? Highlight on the amateur part.
If you are a card holder of the PRCA, IPRA, ACRA, and you're a number 7 or higher team roper in the United States Team Rope Association, and there's one other association, if you're a current card holder or permit holder in any of those, you cannot compete at the Cavalcade. And you can be the past world champion and don't have a current card, you can come compete. That's just the way the rule is. Your current card holders is the only ones that can't compete, or permit holders.
That's probably just a loophole on if you don't buy a card on that deal. But it's a pure amateur rodeo. There's not very many of them out there, and
Not very
anything
many
that's
left.
actually a pure amateur, and the professionals and
But
near
that doesn't mean
professionals.
there hasn't been a lot of talent come through here.
Oh, there's been a lot of
You know,
talent.
We were
Oh,
talking the other day, just trying to name some of the champions and stuff that wrote there. And T. Woman was one that come to mind. Paulie Foreman, Joel Maker.
most recent one's Tyler Milligan.
Yeah,
He won the
Tyler
Cavalcade
Milligan.
as a junior calf roper out there.
And somebody reminded me today that Mark and Tim Fanning
Yep.
team roped
They
here.
both team
They were
roped here.
IPR,
Yep.
IRA champions. And
There's-
one Bob Theis.
If you
And
grew up in
Charlotte
this,
Hartness and Liam
bunch of-
McGuire, and I'm using their maiden names for what they were when they competed, but
Been a lot of
future champions that
Been a lot of them.
started there.
yeah, a lot. We got a great collection of old programs here, and like I said, we were talking about T Woman world champion. If you grew up in this part of the country and you're a rodeo guy, I guess the Cavalcade, you came to it, and eventually a lot of these cowboys became world champions.
Right. It's probably the most family-oriented rodeo
Yeah,
in the
yeah.
country, I'd have to say.
That's what it's set up
You
for.
know, yeah,
Originally,
yeah,
it was set
yeah,
up for that
right,
way.
man.
And when they started coming here, the old timers tell me that when they started the old campgrounds that's still yet today on
Mm-hmm.
the outside of the track, they brought covered wagons and chuck wagons.
Yeah.
Back in the 40s, they're cook wagons and stayed in tents.
Army
Yeah,
tents.
Army tents.
Army
Green
tents,
Army
yep.
tents.
I
There
remember
wasn't-
driving along the highway, and it was just one
Yeah.
right after another, Army. And I even read somewhere where they had a canvas-covered restaurant at one time.
I heard that too back in the 50s.
And,
yeah.
and a grocery store.
Yeah.
Yeah, they had a Cavalcade grocery store.
that
I've
you
read
could
that.
go
My,
in, you know.
my mother done the concessions in the 70s, and a story about the Cavalcade that she has two brothers from Louisiana that had never been around rodeo too much, and they got a little bit of that southern coon ass in them, and they come up and helped her run the concessions. And you ought to hear some of the stories they talk about. Pete, he said, yeah, one uncle went through the camps every morning with ice. The other uncle went through there with a milk truck and eggs and stuff like that. And so, because everybody used to do all their own cooking,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
they had a cook and stuff like that. He said they'd stumbled out of them tents and stuff, been up all night, half dressed. Give me some milk, give me some eggs. And, some pretty good stories back then.
Yeah.
You mentioned it's real family friendly, Jimbo.
Right.
That's till about 11 o'clock.
Right.
Put your kids up
I
about
remember
then.
coming back from Bardsville, closing down the DI or something in Bardsville,
right.
and then driving through the Cavalcade, and stuff. Probably should.
Rodeo dance doesn't start till after the night performances get over, and usually they get
Yeah.
over about 10:30, and rodeo dance starts, and they'll go till midnight, 1 o'clock.
And then it gets real interesting right after that
Right,
rodeo
right.
dance.
Do they still trail ride in a lot, Bud?
Oh, there's a few clubs that
The
still
Well, they used
ride.
to do that a lot.
A lot of clubs
Edna,
used to
the
ride.
Edna Roping and Riding Club rides in every year from Edna, Kansas.
Edna, Kansas.
And I don't know what the mileage is there, but it's not short.
When I was a kid, I don't even know where they were from, but they were coming from the east, from Barnsdall, and they'd come out to our house, maybe on Tuesday, I don't know what day it was, but they'd go down to the creek.
Spend the night.
Waterfalls down there. No, it was in the morning.
Oh.
And they'd tie their horses
Shower.
up. And probably shower in the creek, I don't know, but they'd just cool off because it
Yeah.
was so hot.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Cavalcade gets so hot. But they'd come every year, and then they'd quit. I don't even know where they were from.
That's what makes Cavalcade so special is it's a Roundup Club event only, and I don't think we've touched on that
Yeah,
yet.
we haven't even talked about how you enter Cavalcade or anything, so.
You can't just call up and enter, like Cody Garnett can't just call the secretary and enter the rodeo. You have to be entered, and the entries have to come in from a Roundup club. And a complete entry form comes into her a month ahead of time. The entries will be in by June the 1st, the whole entry form, and then she builds the schedule and everything off of that. So it's all pre-entered way ahead of
And
time.
a lot of these clubs, they have tryouts.
So you don't
In
enter
their-
as an individual.
Yeah, in
You
their
enter-
own club. They have to try out for who's going to go compete and represent their Roundup Club in the International Roundup Club's Cavalcade.
And
So-
to that point, the clubs get points. There's an all-around club awarded every year, and they get a banner and a big flag that they carry, and those flags are very prestigious by those clubs. There's clubs when, 10 or 15 of them, at a time. And they compete very hard as a club, so their entries have to come in. They earn points on how many people they put in the finals, and just, I don't know exactly, but it's a process you have to go through, and then the points at the end on Sunday, and then there's an all-around Roundup Club awarded.
You being the arena director for 25 years.
Yeah, don't remind me, Cody. It's
25 years. You have seen, I guess, just about everything that could happen. But you got any really, really good memories of some non-typical things that you don't see every day happen at the Cavalcade? I know you're probably full of them. They're all jumbled together, but there has to be one or two things that stand out as, wow, I just can't believe that I saw that.
I've got two of them. One of them is in my very first year as arena director, 51st year of the Cavalcade. We used, at that time, we started on Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. We added another day to it because the entries were up. And on Wednesday, we got there that morning and we're doing no, I'm wrong. We didn't add a day until the next year. That year on Wednesday was the Queen's Horsemanship. And we got 9 inches of rain in Osage County that day. Rained out the whole first day. Never had happened before. It always rained. We'd push it back an hour or two, get started, and we rodeo, mud. It don't matter. The only thing stops us is lightning. And it rained all day, and 9 inches of rain. So that's where we used to go in the morning, or used to go at 1 o'clock in the afternoon with an afternoon performance, and then barely enough time turn around and go back at 7 o'clock at night. Sometimes we'd rodeo up to 5:30 in the evening, regather the stock, kind of cool off a little bit, and start rodeoing again. And that's where the day performances got moved to the morning performances, was after that 51st Cavalcade. Rained out the whole first day. So then we had Thursday morning's performance and Thursday night's performance that we didn't cancel. Them people still have to compete. So when we started on Friday at 9 o'clock in the morning, we started with Thursday morning's performance. Got done with it about noon. At 1 o'clock, we started with Friday afternoon's performance that was going on. Done it. That night, we done Friday night's performance, and half of Thursday night's performance was done on Friday night. We got to Saturday, we ran the other half. No, we've already done Thursday mornings. Saturday night, we ran the other half of Thursday night's performance on a Saturday performance. And to get done, and we rodeoed on that Friday, we started at 9 o'clock that morning, and we rodeoed nonstop until 11:30 that night. Never stopped.
Made for a long day.
That's rodeo overload.
Yeah.
I think that's that year. Is that the year the barrel crew? We had to go shoeless, I believe,
Oh,
because
yeah,
the
yeah.
mud was
The mud
about
was-
a foot and a half thick.
It was.
And it sucked off a couple of shoes in the arena for the barrel crew.
It did. It was. We had to.
It was deep.
We had to carry everything in and out of the arena by hand. Couldn't get a truck in there because, like Lauren said, the mud was a foot deep, and it didn't. That pen did not dry up until Sunday. I finally got a tractor in there before the Sunday final performance, and barely haired over the top of it. It was still wet.
Wow.
But 9 inches of rain, it'll kind of do that to you. But that was one, and then the next one, it was probably about 5 years after that. We're rodeoing, Cavalcade's going great. It's 5 o'clock in the afternoon on Saturday night. We had Saturday off because they've changed some things around. We only rodeo on Saturday night because there's a downtown parade on Saturday morning. So we're getting ready to rodeo, and the town of Pawhuska loses electric from KMO that's supplied to town. The whole town's out. We get our electric from the city of Pawhuska. What are we going to do? We have Saturday night's performance we've got to go through to find out who makes it to Sunday, come back for the finals. We started rodeoing at 7 o'clock. We fired up a generator to have the PA system work. We done everything we could do before it got dark. I bucked out the last bull that evening, and it was getting dark. It was getting hard to see. We stopped, brought pickups in, shined headlights in the arena, and just stopped the rodeo because we didn't have no electric, didn't have no lights, didn't have no timers, nothing, no barrel racing. And we sat there till 11:30 in contact with the city, and they finally got power. We started back at 11:30 that night, and we still had the barrel racing to run, the junior and senior team roping to run, and the wild cow milking to do. And we got done about, I think it was about 1:45 that morning. Girls go to the office, they crunch all the numbers, and we're back out there the next morning at 8 o'clock getting ready to do the final performance. And people come up to me, well, we'll just do this in the morning. I said, we can't. We have to do it tonight. And there's another story is we got the big old indoor arena out there now that's sitting on the infield of the fairgrounds, and people come up and say, well, it's great to have the indoor arena. If the cavalcade gets rained out, we can just move inside. No, we can't. Different arena, different box depth, different score, different barrel pattern. It can't move inside.
The only way you can move it inside is to start it inside.
That's it.
And that's not Cavalcade.
And no, I don't want to be inside in July in that building.
That was the thing about the Cavalcade. It was so hot, Of course, it's the time of year, but you were talking about you were lucky to get the rain because most years it's just terribly hot. And that's one reason I thought that they moved it from the morning from the afternoon to the morning session. Because it used to start at 1.
It did for
and
years.
Run into the night just whenever it was over.
We would start rodeoing whenever it was big, and there would be maybe a 30-minute break, and we was basically repin the cattle, get the bucking stock in, and you'd go wash off and cool off, and then go rodeo again. Yeah. It was an all-day deal. It was hard on help.
Yeah, dusty boy. I remember it used to be dusty in there too.
Oh yeah, now we put truckloads of water on.
But I mean, even in the camping area was dusty.
I can remember the cavalcade in the 70s. They never drug the arena. The barrel racers in this day and time would have a fit. I mean, they never drug the arena during that's just how they done it.
Well, they didn't use horn wraps on the team roping cattle either. So
no,
it was a different day and time back then.
It's amazing how rodeo's changed.
Yeah.
Jimbo, it kind of took it's a lot like some of the big prestigious rodeos because it goes for a full week now, and it has a championship Sunday.
Right.
There's not that many rodeos left, it don't seem like, that have the championship Sunday, and the ones that are seem to be the biggest ones.
Yeah. They've changed rodeo so much. I can't, the qualifying, they put limits on the entries, and then you have to qualify. I can't even hardly keep up with it anymore, what they're even doing sometimes.
Yeah, we're definitely out of the new loop
I
for
guess
sure.
We're out of the loop.
Good thing is Cavalcade's still in the old loop. There's a long go
Cavalcade
and a
hasn't
short
changed
go.
that much.
We haven't
That's
changed.
right.
You still.
It's classic.
It's not no number or limit.
Right.
If we averaged, I think we had 107 clubs last year, and it fell down in the 80s. It fell down to the 70s. It fell down to about the 50s in clubs, and then it's just how people come ebb and flow, and then we rebuilt it up, and it came back. And
what was the most? What's the record?
The record that, if I remember right, was like 1972. There was 118 clubs, and that's back when they were full clubs.
Right.
Everybody had somebody in every event. Now, the cavalcade is you don't have complete rosters. Every club doesn't have a complete roster. They don't have a Pony Express or a chuck wagon or stuff like that, or whatever. But most people come with all your roping events and barrels and poles and flags.
That chuck wagon event's pretty fun to watch.
Oh yeah, any wild chuck wagon race is great.
Yeah. We haven't even touched on the parade, and the parade was, or I guess still is, but that was a big deal.
It was big. It was.
You couldn't even get in or out of town when that thing was going on.
It used to take hours because everybody had to ride from the fairgrounds to downtown parade, do the parade, and then ride back out there.
Right.
And before they built the new highway around, that was confusing on that old narrow highway.
Yeah.
You cross the old Bird Creek Bridge,
Yep.
you could get hung behind horses for a long time.
Yep.
So everybody that might be thinking about coming to the 75th Cavalcade, when is the parade?
Parade is
Saturday
on
morning.
Saturday morning.
Always Saturday morning. It's been
Is
that
it
way.
9 a.m.?
10
10 a.m.?
10 a.m. And this year's cavalcade starts on the 13th and goes through the 19th of July.
The 75th year.
75.
And the parade goes straight down Main Street, which is also Highway 60, so it's always fun to shut down a main highway for some horses
Tell you how
nowadays.
old your father-in-law is, Cody. I rode in the parade in the 25th, rode in the parade in the 50th. I might even ride in the parade on the 75th. If you
Everybody
ride
be
with
looking
me.
for Arena Director Bud up there in the parade.
I might have to do it this year. Ride with my granddaughters or something.
All right. I may have to step in there. And help my father-in-law out for once. He helps me out all the time. I'll ride in the 75th year parade with him.
I got a mule. There you go. We just figured
Cody
that
can
out.
ride the mule.
You can ride Jeb.
That's right.
Buffalo, Cody, and Jeb. That'd be a good thing to see.
get
wouldn't
you a
it?
buffalo.
The advertisement
It
right
would
there.
be.
Why don't you get me a buffalo, bud? A real buffalo.
You'd rather ride a buffalo.
How about
That'd be
we
nice.
just put your buffalo coat over Jeb's butt and you can ride him.
That sounds good.
Pretend his ears are horns.
Well, Jimbo, 75 years at the same place having the rodeo. That's really, really something special, right?
Yeah, and pretty much run the same way. I mean, they've had some minor changes, but it's pretty much the same rodeo that started in 1947. That's what's amazing about it.
Well, from what I see, they still pretty well have most of the original events. They've just added a couple more to it.
We've added a few different
Right.
specialty not specialty events, but but age group wise, it's been the same age group ever since I can remember.
To me, getting rid of the bareback riding and adding the ranch bronc riding, that's really a better thing, because the ranch bronc riding, that's a classic event.
Mm-hmm.
That's a classic event in rodeo, and the cavalcade, adding the saddle bronc riding back in, I think is a really, really great thing, and it brings some tradition back to it. I feel like
Yeah, absolutely.
it's really great. It's really, really great.
And it's more of like I said, it's a family, but people plan their vacations
Oh, yeah.
to come to the cavalcade, these families and these roundup clubs, and it's just really a family event.
Well, you were talking earlier about the tent city,
Yeah,
the campers
right.
and tents now. I mean, of course, you still see a lot of good cavalcaders with the tents, don't get me wrong. But now you got some of those guys in there that have nice big RVs. They put pools up for the week in their campgrounds. We're talking they've got redneck luxury out there. So it's a pretty good place to vacation
There's
over the
over
week.
5,000 people that come usually and camp in our infield for a week. This is their week's vacation for the year.
And Tuesday night they got the street dance
Yeah.
of cavalcade, so
Right.
it's really an action-packed week.
It starts on Monday and we go all the way to Sunday, through Sunday.
There's always a dance after the rodeo every night. A couple of years ago, one of the bands even competed in cavalcade, which is always kind of fun.
Well, Cody Johnson,
Yeah.
he's one of the mainstream singers now, and
Yeah.
I remember when I first moved here,
What,
he
he did
was
the
singing
Wild
at
Cow
Cavalcade,
Milking?
and
Right.
I think he might have entered the Wild Cow Milking.
That
think you're
Casey
right.
Donahue band, I know they entered the Wild Cow Milking one
Yeah.
year.
And then we had a deal one year. The band wanted to compete against. They competed against some of the arena crew. Jeff Butte, Joe Sweeten, and Kojak Holloway competed against three of the band members.
I think it was
Yeah,
Casey Donahue
I think
band.
you're right, and we turned out a couple cows, kind of a little specialty event, and see if the band could compete with them. No, they didn't. They need to go play and sing.
Right here in the museum where we're coming to you from, the Ben Johnson Museum, we have a huge display to the cavalcade in here, all the way from everything from his inception to all the way to the present queen of the cavalcade. It's if you really want to know a little bit about the history of it, we've got a whole hall dedicated to just the cavalcade. And did you look over there, Jimbo, and see the picture of Alice Adams we have riding a bronc?
No, I haven't seen it yet.
Oh yeah, she was really quite the bronc rider. It
Must
looks
have
like.
been. Must have been.
Yeah, she was one of the best women bronc riders from what I've read.
Yeah.
She's part of the Cowgirl Hall of Fame
Really.
down in Fort Worth, Texas, I
Yeah.
believe.
Yeah.
I believe she's inducted into that.
And for her to be the brainchild behind the cavalcade,
Yeah.
that's interesting.
It is.
Yeah, she must have just seen what was going on with Wild West shows and stuff she was riding in, and she just wanted to bring something like that right back here. I mean, she looks like a wild person.
Yeah.
I think we would have got along good with
Most
Alice.
of those lady bronc riders probably did have a little Wall Street, probably.
They
I'm
probably
guessing.
There's nothing cooler than those old flicks of those lady bronc riders up at Pendleton and
Right.
places like that,
Right.
for sure.
They were tough.
It was really, really
Some
cool.
of them tied steers and everything else.
Oh,
You see
yeah.
those old pictures?
Mabel
of them?
Strickland, she's one of my
Yeah.
heroes.
Right.
Old lady
Yeah.
steer tripper up in Cheyenne.
Yeah.
Yeah, she was. That's the one that you see all the famous pictures of Mabel
Yeah.
tying a steer,
Right,
standing
hands
up like
there.
that,
Yeah, I've
hands in
seen
the air.
those. They used to have lady bronc riding at Madison Square Garden.
Really?
Yeah, a lot of the rodeos had lady bronc riding.
I bet Alice
I was
Adams
going
rode
to
there.
say, we got to check that out, see if Alice Adams ever competed.
Yeah, we need to get some old programs. Check that out.
Yeah,
I'm interested in this Alice Adams.
yeah.
So, anybody interested in checking out more of the Cavalcade history right here. Just come to the Ben Johnson Cowboy Museum right here in historic downtown Pawhuska, Oklahoma. Bud,
Yes, sir.
25 years. It's a milestone.
Getting ready to be.
What's the guy did it closest to you?
Dwayne Ramey was the one previous before me, and I worked with him for like 22 years. So he done it for like 22, 23 years.
And
Dwayne did.
You've surpassed him now.
You have, are you trained, you got anybody training? Or you
Yeah,
gonna go
I have a
another
guy that's
25 years?
been with me about 15 years now. So when I hand it off one of these days, and he'll take over, and kind of like I said a while ago, it's just a well-oiled machine. I have people that have worked for me all 25 years. I have 4 people that have been with me since the start, worked for me for 25 years. And we're just one big family out there. We have a ball. We have a lot of fun. It's work. It's hot, like Jimbo said. But if we all didn't care about it and try to make it a very good show, and nothing worse than going to a rodeo and sitting there and it takes 10 minutes to get between events. My job is to make sure we go from event to event and no dead time. So, and you're going to have things break. We brought a welder in the middle of that arena during the rodeo at night and had to refix the buck and chutes. So we went to the buck and chutes and buck bulls and put pins around the welder. And I was arena director, and Dwayne Ramey was still coming out there. Him and his son Kelly come down and fixed the chutes that broke in the middle of it, and then pulled everything out of the way, got done bull riding, and went back to roping. You never know what you're going to find.
Ever since I moved here and married your daughter, I've been trying to freak with the Cavalcade every single year. And I've noticed something, I can't quite figure it out. The dress code. What's going on with the dress code over there in the arena at the Cavalcade?
At night is, if you wear a hat, it has to be a cowboy hat. You don't have to wear a collared shirt. It can be a short sleeve shirt because it's the middle of July. And your foot is Western attire at night. Daytime, we don't have a dress code. I've seen them run
In hula skirts.
shorts, flip-flops. We call it the Joe O'Rourke rule because he came out one night and had flip-flops on and was going to calf rope, and people...
Shorts, flip-flops, and a visor.
And he
Can you imagine
calf
getting your
roped
foot
that
stepped
night.
on there, Jimbo?
Yeah. Sounds very good.
And after that, nighttime, we try to be a little bit more professional. Most people wear a long sleeve shirt, but at night, if you wear a hat, if there's anything on your head, it better be a cowboy hat. No caps in the arena, and you'll get a no time if you ride in the arena and try to compete that way.
So you got all kinds of Western fashion happening out there.
That's the nice way of saying it, yeah.
All kinds of Western fashion happening out there. Well, all right, bud. 25 years. How many more are you going to go?
We'll take it year by year.
Year by year.
Yeah.
You're holding the record now. They ain't going to beat it till up in the hundreds, in the
probably not.
something year of the Cavalcade. So.
I was thinking about retiring, but I got 2 granddaughters that want to work in the arena, so I'm probably going to stay around for another year or 2.
Well, I'm sure nobody would, you wouldn't be happy with the way anyone else is running.
Oh, no, he would not. Let me just tell you. You know how he said that we're all one big family when you're on the ground crew? Because I spent many years on the ground crew working for Bud Gould in the arena. Well, we are a big family, but that whole part about we all just have fun, let me just tell y'all, Bud may be having fun, but the rest of us in the arena, I don't know if fun's the word I would have used. I remember one year Kojak Holloway and my dad got into a little prank war. So I guess that's the fun he's referring to. I will say, I got to tell you this. It was this is a great idea if anyone needs to prank someone. Was it you that did it, or did Kojak do it to you?
I turned on Kojak's heater and
that's
turned
what
on
it
his
was.
heater, and he was a tractor driver working the barrels. I turned on his heater and turned his air conditioner off, and he couldn't figure out how to turn it back on. So he's out there sweating, working there.
But that's not. I was talking about when Kojak got him back. So Kojak squeezed some baby powder in all the air vents in the borrowed, nice, brand new Dodge pickup that they borrow from
A dealership.
the dealership. So as soon as that truck cranked on, where Dad was sitting in that sweaty, full of sweat, cranked that up, pickup on with the air conditioner on full blast and all that baby powder. That might have been the fun he was talking about. That was about the only fun I know of.
Sounds like a blast.
I
good time.
thought it was.
It's a good time.
It is. Well, like I say, we work hard at what we do. Everybody takes pride in it, but we have a lot of fun too.
Well, you guys should take pride in it. 75 years running, not a year missed, 75 years in a row. No one can say that anymore except pretty much the Cavalcade, everybody. So if you don't have anything going this July, won't you come over here and celebrate the 75th annual Cavalcade right here in Pawhuska with everybody? It's going to be one heck of a celebration, and we look forward to having everybody. Bud, thank you for coming in today.
Anytime.
And I really expect him to be there another 25 years, Lauren.
I do too.
All right.
I don't.
You wouldn't know what to do with yourself the third week in July.
I'm going to retire and go to an island or something the first year. I'm going to have to skip the first year. No, actually, the guy that's going to take over told me if I quit, I can't quit. I got to come back and flag for him at night. So he said, because Dwayne didn't just leave me, he was still there.
Once you're out, they bring you back in.
But anyway.
All right. Well, thanks for coming in.
Anytime.
And everybody come to the Cavalcade. Jimbo, you got anything for anybody?
Well, come visit the Cavalcade and be sure and come by the Ben Johnson Cowboy Museum.
Yeah, I agree.
It's a must-see.
It is a must-see. Very proud of you, Cody, for putting this together. It is awesome.
Well, thank you. Hey, we'll see everybody next week. It's Cody Boy and Jimbo, Cowboys of the Osage right here. See y'all later.